Good evening. It's Kathy Beatty with Divorce Support Anonymous. Thank you for joining me on this Friday night, where I like to step into your life and give you some tools, some techniques, some hope, and some help. That's what I'm all about. That's what I've been doing for the last 19 years. And so I haven't been doing videos for 19 years. I've only been doing those about 6, I think. But I have been in this work for the last 19 years. And really, this is what I'm all about right here. My work is to guide people through the trauma of divorce with the least amount of damage emotionally, financially, spiritually, and physically. That's my goal. That's what I want to do. I want to be able to minimize the damage. As we know, divorce is damaging. It's damaging to you. It's damaging to the person that you're divorcing. It's damaging to the children. It's damaging to the extended family, to the community, to the church, and the list goes on all the way out to society. It's damaging. So if you have discovered and determined that this has to happen for a variety of reasons, that this marriage covenant is broken, and you can no longer proceed in being married, whether that's because of an affair, whether that's because someone has abandoned you. And abandoning could mean a multitude of things. If they are into pornography, if they are financially irresponsible and devastating you, and there's many reasons, but I'm not going to talk about all of the psychological and emotional issues tonight. I'm going to get real practical. And tonight we are going to talk about how can I minimize the cost of divorce? It is expensive. It's very expensive. In fact, if you were to get an attorney, he's probably going to want first, right off the bat, $5,000 or more to put into an account that's called a retainer that he's going to withdraw from to be able to service you in this divorce. Now, I am not here at all to bash attorneys. In fact, I know of some wonderful attorneys who support my work, who I refer people to. But I want you to use attorneys carefully. And that is one way that you are going to minimize the cost of divorce. So I've got a few points here, 5 of them, in fact, that we're going to state. And number 1 is going to be to get this workbook. Seeing your attorney for the first time, it is a preparation and mediation guide to save you money in the attorney's office. Again, minimizing the cost. Why do I need to get this? Well, you need to get this because it is going to guide you and take you step by step in what you need to do to prepare to go into your attorney's office, or if you are determining that you're going to do it by yourself without an attorney, which I have all kinds of warnings on that, but we'll talk about that a little bit tonight. But here's how you can minimize the cost of your divorce. There are a lot of things that you can do on your own. You can file for divorce on your own. You can use my workbook and get some of your paperwork ready, whether that is to go in and see an attorney or whether you're doing it on your own. So, point number 1, get this workbook. Good news is this workbook doesn't cost you anything. You just need to give me your email address. And because it's too large of a file to send through Messenger or text or anything of that sort, and I will send that to you. And there's no obligation. I'm not going to haunt you with emails after that. In fact, I do a very poor job of following up with people because I want their privacy and I want them to come to me when they need me and they are ready for that. So get the workbook. It's going to help you. Request it. It's no cost. I send it to you. You download it. You print it. You have it to begin working. And I also will tell you that I give you a 1 free hour consultation. Cost you nothing. And maybe that's all you need is between the workbook and a consultation. You are prepared to go see your attorney, or you're prepared to take the steps on your own toward this process of divorce. So number 1, get the workbook. Right there. Get the workbook. Okay. Number 2, gather all of your documents of assets and debts. Your W-2 forms, your savings account, your retirement account, all of the current documents that you have that show the value of your assets and value of your debts. Get a copy of all of that. The most current that you can find, get a copy of those. You're going to need them. And in the workbook, it's going to list all of the things that you're going to need. And you can go through that and you can check off the list of the things that you have. But that's what you can do. Now, one of the reasons why I love the workbook and why I love telling you this information is what happens often is people panic. They throw up their hands and they panic because they're going through a divorce. And first thing they do is they run off to that attorney's office. They phone a friend and say, hey, I need a good attorney. And they say, I have a good attorney. You go running to your attorney's office. And you say, attorney, what am I going to do? And you spend a good hour telling him your story. Okay? You're going to spend another good hour and he's going to be saying, these are the documents that you need to get together. You've already spent 2 hours in your attorney's office. Some will give you the first hour for free. But even after that first hour, you're still going to have details to fill him in on what has happened in this divorce, why this divorce is taking place. Side note, don't use your attorney as a therapist. Find a therapist or a support group near you, which I'm starting May 7th. So you gather all of these documents and all of these assets and you get them all together. So you know your value. You get, if you have a home, you get the house appraised. If you have a cottage, you get the house appraised. If you have vehicles, you get the blue book on it. If you have a boat, you get the value on it. I don't know what they call it for boats or campers or anything like that you get, but you need to get the value of these things because you're going to be dividing these in half. So you need to know what the value is. And I don't want you to use the market value or SEV on the value of your home, market value as in a realtor, which he would do for you. That's not as accurate as what your appraisal is going to be. So you're going to need an appraisal. Don't do that right off the bat. Leave that for later, but I'm just telling you, you will need to get an appraisal. So you're going to gather all of your documents of all of your assets and all of your debts, and you're going to have them organized in a file from the workbook, ready to go. And then you might be ready to go into your attorney's office. Remember, don't use him as a therapist. You need to have this, and boy, is this hard because you're an emotional wreck going through a divorce, but you need to have this business mindset about you. And that's true as you go into an attorney. It's true when you go into mediation as well. And by the way, I didn't mention in the beginning, I am a domestic mediator, divorce coach, and also hold support groups. So one-stop shop, kind of. So get all your documents together, all of your assets, all of your debts. And point number 3, know what you want and know what you need. As you look at all of your assets and all of your debts, you need to determine, and this is hard work. I wish it were easy. And you may need some help and some encouragement with this. And I certainly, in that 1 hour, a free consultation, can guide you through some of that. Of course, I'm limited because I don't know the depth of all that you have and want and what you're going to need in the future. But I can ask you some good questions and just help you begin to formalize in your mind, what do I need? One of the things is, I've got that on point number 5, so I'll hold off on that. So determine, and I know that at this point, when you're thinking about what you want and what you need, many of you are in the situation where you want to punish the other person and you want to take everything away from him or her because of what they have done to you. I get it. I totally get it. But I want you, remember that business mindset I was talking about? I want you to know that the courts, typically, I'm in Michigan, they may vary, but in the courts, or in Michigan, and the majority of the states, I think there's like 1 or 2 that don't, they are no fault states. So that means it doesn't matter if someone did something awful, such as an affair, betrayal, or gambled your money away, or whatever, the list of sin does not lack, right? The courts are going to look at it as, okay, these are the assets, these are the debts. We're going to divide them 50-50, basically. Now, you can negotiate some, like I want the house, you keep the retirement, those type of things. You can negotiate it, but basically you're working toward a 50-50 split. So you may really want to punish the other person because of what they did, but I will tell you, give you a perfect example, just a case I'm dealing with and have been dealing with over the last few weeks. This woman's determined she's going to be really nasty and she's going to hurt her husband through the divorce. They have a child. And so she is throwing everything out in the courts, trying to take parenting time away from this little girl's daddy. Well, after all this fighting and after all of these thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars spent, we get down to the point to where, I don't know if she wore down or what, she decided on 50-50 custody with the daughter. Do you know how much money she had wasted because she thought she was going to punish her husband and deny him the right of being a father? It is an exercise in futility sometimes, unless there are real reasons. So again, knowing what you want, being realistic, looking at this with a business sense. How do we divide this? We're going to look at numbers. The judge is not going to be emotional if you happen to go before a judge, which I hope you don't. I hope you go into mediation, get it resolved. But this is not, it's so hard to say this is not emotional because it is emotional. It's terribly emotional. But if you want to minimize the cost, you're going to have to look at this objectively and look at the numbers as much as possible. Okay? So as you're going through this, to minimize the cost, you're going to know what it is that you want and what you need. You're not going to get everything you want. I'll tell you that right now. But you are going to know and form in your mind what it is that you want. Really, really important. You may need help with that. Don't just think, okay, I'm going to sit down and do this. No, you need some guidance. You may need a therapist. You may need a close friend who is mature enough to do this with you. Or a financial person who's going to sit down and divide the numbers. Don't go through a divorce alone. I say that all the time. And this is one place where you should not do that. But you do need to begin to think, what do I need? What do I want? Through this division of assets and debts. Personal property. Boy, if you've been married a lot of years, as many people have that I work with, there's a lot of personal property. So here's what I recommend. I recommend you get a piece of paper, or you can use a sheet that's in my workbook. You have 3 columns. In the first column, these are the things that are vitally important to you. This may be things that are sentimental, that come from your great-grandmother, or were from your deceased parents. Those really important items for sentimental reasons. And then there are those things of value that you know that you want. Again, you're not going to get everything you want, but you're going to be placing it in this column. These are the things that I want of personal property we're speaking of right now. These are the things that I want. I want the chest of drawers that was my great-grandfather's. I want, I'm not just sentimental. I want the big screen TV because we have 2, and I want the big screen because I'm going to keep the kids, or the kids are going to probably stay with me, whatever your reasoning. First column, these are the things that are really important to me that I want. Middle column, these are the things, you know what? If I keep the lawnmower, that's great. If I don't keep the lawnmower, I'm okay with that. So you're kind of ambivalent about that middle column. If I keep it, great. If not, no big deal. Third column, those are those things you do not want. You don't want. You just know. And these are the main things. I'm not talking about salt and pepper shaker. Now, you can do salt and pepper shaker if you want to get down to that, but I don't think it's worth your time and energy right now. So make those 3 columns on your personal property. Again, that is going to help you know this is what I want, this is what I'm after. You're not going to get everything that you want. If you do, you are a rare bird. So personal property, that's one way to begin dividing all of that. Next question, how do I minimize the cost? And you're going to minimize the cost in the property in that you're not going to be fighting over it between your attorneys back and forth. You're going to know what you're after. And so if you are focused, that's going to help you know what you're after. Keeping the house. What does this have to do with minimizing the cost of divorce? It's a big decision. It's a really big decision. Again, you're going to get an appraisal of the home to determine if you're going to keep it, if you should keep it. Maybe you want to keep it, but you can't afford it. And you know that. So this is a time really to be realistic about that as well. Okay, so should you keep the house? That's something only you can answer. Now, I know there's a lot of emotions with the house that I can't part with the house because my kids are here and they've known this house for 10 years and it'll disrupt their stability, and you have all those good reasons. Maybe you want to keep the house. But again, make sure you can actually afford to keep the house, because if you get it and then you lose it, that would not be good. So those are my 5 points real quick. And I don't know how long we've gone. Oh, we've gone a while. But I do want you to minimize the cost of your divorce, because it is going to cost you. Don't waste thousands and thousands of dollars, as so many people have, by fighting over things that the court is going to say you're going to split it 50-50. So get over it, get used to it, and deal with it. I know that sounds cold and harsh, but I want you to be realistic. Because if you're not realistic, you are going to waste a lot of money in the court system and with your attorneys fighting for things. So be focused, know what you want, be realistic, get a great attorney, contact me for that free consult. I'd be more than happy to speak with you. Request the workbook. It's no cost. It's going to help you tremendously. I've had a lot of people give me some great feedback, and a few attorneys give me some great feedback. So get the workbook. And final, I'll end with pray. Pray like you've never prayed before. God is the giver of wisdom. You need wisdom. You need discernment as you go through this divorce. It is a very, very difficult journey, but it is not an impossible one. You are going to get through this. You are going to get to the other side. There is a beautiful life awaiting you after you get through divorce. So please don't despair. Just find the tools that you need to do this work. I hope this has been of help. This is Kathy Beatty with Divorce Support Anonymous, walking with you every step of the way through and after the trauma of divorce. Have a good evening.